Oh, hello. I'm Tim, one of the writers here for Upsetting Shorts. This time out, the Electric Eel. Prized in Japan for its well-marbled beef, it's often massaged and fed beer. For more on the Electric Eel, let's throw it over to my friend, TV's Adam. It's good bread!
Coming to you from our high-tech genie lamp, it's the Moody Institute of Science.
I said, ooh, girl.
Hey, talk about your traps.
I'd like you to meet a friend of mine.
Ooh, I already don't like where
His
this is
name
going.
Linnaeus. Electrophorus electricus Linnaeus. Here at the lab, we just call him Joe.
And we call Joe the custodian,
Isn't exactly what
Electrophorus
you'd call a
electricus
raging
Linnaeus.
beauty, is he? But he has his points. For one thing, he's quite a swimmer.
Even in this
Notice
other
the
dimension.
wave motion of the long ventral fin. As the waves travel toward the rear, the eel is propelled forward. Reverse, the waves travel toward the head. How about ascending and descending?
How about him, folks? Let's give him a big hand.
Waves at the center which go both ways. And to descend, the waves start at both ends and work toward the middle. Joe is commonly called an electric eel. But actually, it isn't an eel at all, but a fish of the
He's
carp
actually
or
not even
catfish
that.
family.
He's made of
Now,
wood.
the eel part of his name may not be correct, but he sure came by the electric part honestly.
He married into it.
There are stories of cattle, horses, even human beings being killed by the electric shock of eels just like this. In fact, along the Amazon River, ranchers have lost so many cattle that they have what they call electric eel drives.
Selling eels to
They
fix
herd
up the
eels
Civic
into
Center.
shallow water and then
Pyramid
they
Head!
kill them with their machetes.
Huh?
Oh yes, they have insulated handles on the machetes.
Insulated
Now,
handlees.
of course, electrical impulses can't be seen.
Except by ants, so
But
let me
if
just
we
get
put
my
an electrode
costume.
at each end of the tank, we can hear the electrical discharge on a loudspeaker.
I said, ooh, girl.
Now, those gentle pulses are part of the eel's radar system.
I don't like
In
the
some
new Streets
mysterious way,
album.
he uses them to locate his food. Now, so far as we know, all adult electric eels are blind. They have heavy cataracts on their eyes.
I admit I put them
Now,
there,
eels feed on small fish.
and so do
And
I.
if it weren't for this radar system, they'd starve to death. Now, when an eel locates a fish or when he is disturbed,
By this science stick. Cool, underwater
he puts out
dubstep.
what we call the double whammy.
No whammy, no whammy, no
This
whammy,
is a
eel!
terrific shock that stuns anything in the water nearby. The only way you can describe Joe's table manners is to say that they're downright shocking.
So this guy got his degree in eel disturbance and carnivorous plants. Wow. You know, it'd be pretty easy to get a cheap laugh right here, but I think we respect you guys enough to not do something like that. I mean, this is our 11th episode. I can't even recall a single fart joke, and that's really something that we kind of pride ourselves on. We try to keep things highbrow. And okay, enough, Joe. My eyes are watering. Yeesh.
Now, the electric eel, unlike most fish, is an air breather.
I'm drowning this one.
It must rise to the surface from time to time for air. For this reason,
I have mosquito
it can be
netting.
quite comfortable out of water.
Sorry. Cook at 350 degrees for 45 minutes. Enjoy with rice.
Now, the vital organs of the electric eel are all in the front 10 inches of his body.
Ladies,
The rest,
just lays
pure
there.
power plant. And believe it or not, he can generate more than 500 volts.
Now let's get this sucker gift wrapped.
Here we have a bank of 36 neon lamps.
You know, for science and junk.
We'll connect these to
Mailman.
our eel electrode. Now, of course, the eel is designed to operate in water. His electrical system doesn't function too well in air, but even under these conditions,
I can annoy
it should
it.
give us enough power to light the lights.
Electric eels, powering the war effort at home and abroad.
For some reason, people seem to find it difficult to believe
Be in the
that a
same
fish
room
can
as
put
me.
out any considerable amount of power. Even some of the folks here at the laboratory have been just a little bit skeptical about Joe's electrical prowess.
Until I inject them
And for
with
that
this.
reason, we've asked a few of them if they wouldn't help us in an experiment.
This guy's
you have the
wanted
group
in
come in
so
now,
many
please?
states.
All right. Dave.
You're not
You
wearing the
stand right over here,
costumes.
please. The rest of you just line up there.
Line
Right
up in
over
order
here.
of mustache,
Okay, that's
please.
fine. Now, Dave, if you'll take this, please, and hold it in your right hand. Lloyd, you hold this one. That's
The
fine.
first
Now,
one to
everybody
let go
join hands.
explodes.
That's right. Now, you're connected in series. Now, there are 5 of you. That means that each of you will receive just 1/5 of the total voltage of the eel.
The remaining voltage will
Now,
go on
relax.
sale.
We'll give you the low voltage tap first. You ready? Did you feel that? Wasn't bad, was it?
Well, Al's doing that thing with his thumb. See what you get for doubting me!
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to have you meet a group of confirmed believers in electric eels. Thank you very much.
You're dead at 5, you creepy little goblin.
Now, where did that electricity come from? Strange as it may seem, eel's electric tissue is made up of cells
I think that
very
thing's
much like
dead.
the cells that make up the nerves of our own bodies. These cells are called electroplaques.
Okay, now it's dead.
Here is a crude model of one of these cells.
Which you'll be staying in.
Actually, the electroplaque is a tiny battery, 1/25 of an inch thick.
Like me.
Now, in a flashlight, there are 3 cells.
Like me. No, wait.
Each cell generates 1.5 volts. 3 of them in series produce the 4.5 volts necessary for the lamp.
It's just a stack of butter sticks with a beard
The eel's
attached.
battery produces 1/10 of a volt. 10 of them in series will produce 1 volt.
A thick, rich volt fresh
Well, at
from the
this rate,
creamery.
It will take 5,000 of these to produce the 500 volts of the eel. Well, he's got them and then some.
Oh, baby.
An eel like Joe here probably has 250,000 electric cells.
Is that right? Screw it. They'll never
Connected
know.
in series, 5,000 of them, and you have the 500 volts
I'd like
the
to
rest
bring
of
some
them are
colleagues
connected
out
in
to hold hands
parallel.
again.
to build up the current capacity.
Poor Joe just
Now,
twitching
each
out his
one of these
last.
tiny batteries has an electronic switch controlled by a signal sent along the nerve fiber connected to it. When an eel wants to shock something,
It makes a Heath Ledger
it
joke.
throws hundreds of
Still too
thousands of
soon.
switches all at once just by thinking about it. But what to me is even more amazing is that when Joe's battery is run down, he can recharge them, all of them, in just 1,000th of a second.
Are you guys gonna need me at
That's
all?
quite a power
Need the
plant, isn't
backup eel?
The eel's
Why is there a
electrical
toaster
system
on the
is
desk?
composed of 3 main parts. The first is called the large electric organ.
That's the
This
scientific
is
name.
the source of the eel's main voltage. Now, the function of this organ, called the organ of Hunter, is still somewhat of a mystery, although scientists believe that in some way it works with the large organ in producing the double whammy.
Or as it's commonly known, Ol'
This
Zappy.
organ, called the bundle of socks, is to me the most wonderful.
I'm wearing a bundle
It
of
has been
socks
definitely
right now.
identified as the source of those mysterious radar pulses. In other words,
Carnivorous
this is
plants.
the power plant for the eel's radar transmitter.
Your mission, should you
Now,
choose
of
to
course,
accept
the radar
it,
system must have a receiver also.
it's hidden in the Andes, and you men are tasked with finding
You
it.
notice those pits located in rows along the front part of the eel?
Well, notice 'em
The other
more.
night I was in New York City talking with Dr. Christopher Coates, director of the New York Zoological Society.
Started out talking
Dr.
anyway.
Coates is the world's foremost authority on electric eels.
And coats,
He
conveniently
performed an
enough.
experiment recently that seems to indicate that those pits are a definite part of the eel's radar receiving system.
I don't know how the nipple clamps
Now,
factored
if
in,
Joe
but
is
I'm not the
willing to
foremost
cooperate-
authority, am I?
We can perform a similar experiment here. The problem is to render Joe's radar system temporarily inoperative.
By rendering Joe permanently
Now, if
inoperative.
we paint these pits with an insulating liquid,
Like this airplane glue.
and if these pits have anything
Sorry,
to do
Joe.
with the radar apparatus, Joe will find it very difficult to locate a fish.
Hypothesis. Eel brushed with gravy on butcher paper has difficulty
We won't
finding
go
fish.
hungry. This is a liquid that will wash off very rapidly.
Oh, that's fortunate.
All right, Joe, let's go back into your tank.
Just let me slip out of this lab coat and I'll join you. You know, sometimes a hammock's not that relaxing.
That's right. Come on out now, like a good fella.
To share your cookie.
Now, we want to give him a good supply of fish.
Let me get my bootlegs. But first, this stool sample. Ugh.
All right, Joe is surrounded by his favorite delicacy, baby trout. But for the next few moments at least, those fish are just as safe as if there weren't an electric eel within 1,000 miles. You see, Joe's radar's on the blink.
So I'm gonna poke him.
Oh, his transmitter's working all right.
Come in.
He's still putting out those radar pulses.
And hit singles.
Actually, it's his receiver that's not operating. Now, let's think for just a moment about what that means.
Probably should
To a
have done
certain
that
extent,
before I
we can
started
locate
filming.
objects with our ears. We can tell roughly the direction from which a sound is coming. But you know, if I were blindfolded, I'd sure hate to try to catch a greased pig simply by listening to its squeal.
I'd prefer a full leather
But,
face mask to a
this
blindfold.
problem, compared to Joe's, is relatively simple.
Compared to my
You
pig
see, sound
fetish.
travels 1,100 feet per second in air.
But only 12 per second in grease.
But Joe's radar pulses travel at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second.
Slower in school zones.
This means that an electric eel's radar system must be able to interpret time difference that is less than 1/1000th of a second.
But I've got thumbs, so I get to
This is
paint
so
his head.
amazing as to be almost beyond belief. Yes, Joe, you're quite a fellow. You may not win any beauty contests, but you've given us a lot to think about.
Like what to
You've given
brush
us
you
a new
with next.
understanding of the God who made us all.
Second hypothesis. Endlessly flatulent electric eel not hungry after pockmarks on his face filled with nail polish. Conclusion, Jesus. And with that, we bring another episode of Upsetting Shorts to a close. This is TV's Adam. That was Big Hunky Tim eating bread. And thanks as always to Nadia Jones for her artwork. And thanks to you for your patience, your graciousness, and for having that pleasant sort of springtimey scent that reminds me of the yard of the house that I grew up in.